In this video, I'll walk you through how to do darning stitch. Darning stitch is a really wonderful filling stitch, and we use exactly the same method as you would in the traditional darning of wool, such as darning socks, but we use it decoratively within embroidery. It's also sometimes known as needle weaving, and once I get into it, you'll see why. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just laying out the first lines of a shape, and I'm going to darn in a circle. It would be easier if this is your first time doing it to draw out the outline of the shape you want to stitch. Here I've done a few circles in my time, so I'm just doing it freehand. But what you can see is I'm starting to lay down vertical lines with a good gap between them, and these are going to form one of the lines that I will weave between. So I'm going to go around creating these lines into a circular shape. Again, a lot of sewing comes from experimenting and working out yourself how you best work. This is a gap between the stitches that I know works well for me. Any closer and it becomes much harder later on when I get into the weave stage. But have a go, see what you like yourself. So you can see I'm just starting to form the shape of my circle through these stitches. So, lay lines down. I'm going to finish off my thread, secure it on the back, and then I'll get my next thread. And the one thing I didn't mention here is I'm stitching this darning with 6 strands. Now, whatever you're tending to do on your design, if you're stitching your design in 3 strands, 4 strands, whatever, I always find that 6 strands works best on darning. But importantly, I still split my thread. So you can see here I'm cutting a section of thread. And now I'm going to separate the strands. And so I'm going to separate all 6 strands. And this just gives the thread a lot more volume and enables the threads to lay better one against another. So even though I'm using all 6, I'm still going to separate them. Now there's a whole separate video about separating threads, etc. So do watch that. And do remember, darning is covered in a lot more detail as part of our Start Stitching course. So here, for the time being, for this short quick skills video, I've just separated my 6 strands, tying a knot in the thread, and now I'm ready to put in my horizontal weave. So I'm going to bring my needle up in the middle. I always find that the best place to start from all shapes, whether you're filling or anything. And here I'm going to use the reverse side of the needle to do my weaving. I just find that works easier and doesn't split the threads. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm pushing my needle over under the threads. So I'm weaving in and out of those threads that I laid down before. And then I'm passing my needle through the fabric to the other side. I'm then going to come up above it, and I'm basically just going to weave in the opposite direction. So if I went under the previous thread, I'll now go over. So you see, and this is why you need the gap. You need the gap, or else you will really struggle to weave through the threads. As you start stitching, you'll start filling out that gap, and so it all becomes much more full. The lines sit side by side, and you can press it down, spread it together, and get it in shape. But here we go. I'll just keep going, showing you fully weaving, darning this shape. So once I've got to the top, I'm then going to go back to the middle and work my way down. So what I want to do, and what's really fun, is a 2-colour weave. So here I've laid down my lines, and you can see what I've just done here is I've alternated the first lines. It's always easier to alternate the first lines rather than try alternate your horizontal. So I've done it doing exactly the same method, but instead of having 1 colour for my lay lines, I'm doing 2. And again, I cover all this in a lot more detail in our Start Stitching course. So do take a look at that if you want to have 20 minutes of exploration into darning. So I'm just weaving exactly the same way, and I'm going to show you this full shape, and it shows you how you can start bringing multiple colours in. The next level is that you start also having a horizontal colour change. And if you're doing that, I would always have 2 needles threaded up at the same time. So I'd effectively right now pull my other needle up with a different colour. But I'm going to keep going, weaving across the whole shape. And then that is our darning. Darning is a really wonderful stitch. It's a way of you bringing in a load more texture, a load of different colours, and creating just a really interesting finished result. I hope you enjoy. Do check out our other videos over on the Fabled Thread. Thank you.